Hi, welcome to Everyday Movie Recap. For today, we will recap the fantasy adventure film called Chupa from the year 2023. The story revolves around a young boy who makes an unexpected friend when he finds a baby chupacabra lurking in his grandpa's shed while on a family vacation in Mexico. Have you seen this movie yet? If not, sit back, relax, and enjoy. The movie begins in Mexico where excavators are searching through old paintings. A frightful sound suddenly startles them, and they follow the tracks to see if there is anything behind it. One of the men hurries to report what he has discovered: a feather lying on the ground to his commander. Quinn immediately goes in search of the infant chupacabra and makes an attempt to catch it. But his mother soon appears to defend the young chupacabra. The animal pushes the intruder away, picks up its puppy, and tries to get away, only to be struck by one of Quinn's shots. The creature swiftly races across the desert, determined to rescue its son's life, despite the injury to one of its wings. The monster is then pursued by the digger until he arrives at a mountain. Quinn chooses to carry on the hunt after discovering one of the animal's claws marks in the sand. The animal is crossing the road quickly in the dark. A car approaches at that precise moment, and the driver is unable to brake in time, resulting in an accident. Hurt and worried that his youngster may be taken, the animal makes the decision to abandon him, hiding behind a bush and enticing the people to depart. The young child is now alone and will need to fend for himself in order to survive. Up until this point, there had been no hard evidence supporting the existence of chupacabras, but following this development, the belief began to gain support throughout numerous places. The scene then shifts to 13-year-old Alex, a Mexican kid who grew up in the United States. His classmates make fun of him all the time, so he is by himself and absorbed in his video games. When the kid returns home one day, his mother tells him that his grandfather is waiting for him in Mexico. The young man lost his father when he was still a little child, and he hasn't spoken to his family since. Despite his lack of enthusiasm for the trip, Alex eventually follows his mother's advice and visits the family. His grandfather excitedly greets Alex after they arrive at the airport. When Chava realizes that his grandson is more engaged in playing video games than in getting to know him, in the car on the way home, he becomes irritated and remarks that Alex is just like his father. When the young American arrives at the farm and meets his cousin, Chava explains that Memo and his sister have traveled from the city to be with Alex for the week. Memo shows his cousin around the house and the room he will be sleeping. As he is taking his bags off, he hears music coming from outside. It turns out the music is from his cousin Luna, and the young girl expresses her happiness at finally seeing him. After packing his luggage a few hours later, Alex is ambushed by his cousin as he walks through the house. Luna plays a videotape on the TV to help him feel less bewildered because he is unfamiliar with that fighting method. Alex learns from watching the video that his grandfather was a legendary wrestling champion. He never lost a battle when facing the strongest adversaries of his era. Prior to his confrontation with El Chacal, a renegade fighter who threw Chava out of the ring, Chava was thought to be unbeatable. Chava broke his skull in the fall and spent nearly a month unconscious. He never got back into the ring after that. Alex receives an invitation to visit the farm from the children's grandfather, who just happens to switch off the TV. As they proceed through the barn, they come across a goat that is resting on the ground. Memo and Luna quickly start speculating that a chupacabra may have attacked the animal, but Chava maintains that this is just a myth. That evening, when Alex is sleeping, he hears something coming through his window. Surprised, he is rather relieved to learn that it is merely a visiting goat. But a few seconds later, the young man chooses to follow Chava into the barn after spotting him discreetly leaving in the dead of the night. Alex cries for his grandfather as something awful suddenly moves closer. Chava appears rather quickly, and the two little brothers follow right after. They start making fun of Alex, though, when they peer into the bushes and realize that the small rabbit that had startled him was actually the source of the boy's fear. When all the people are gone, a chupacabra comes out of the bushes. When Alex wakes the following morning, he finds the animal and surprises him. After that, the creature breaks out of the window, and Alex goes in search of it. Then he sees his cousin and accepts his invitation to light some roof fires. Memo enters the conversation and informs the other that his granddad has vanished. The three of them resolve to chase him right away, and Luna gets in the car to find him. The young woman is aware that Chava occasionally forgets things and wanders around aimlessly. Meanwhile, a group of diggers searches the area where the chupacabra was last spotted in an effort to find it. Quinn discovers a license plate while searching the road, and he plans to find out who owns it. After the three kids are split up when they get to the city, Memo takes his cousin to sample the most varied local cuisine, while Luna searches for her grandfather. Alex is enjoying some tacos, and Luna appears and lets him know that her grandfather isn't there. So they search for him, and along the way, they discover the man strolling alongside a little goat on their way home, and they successfully persuade him to go back. They encounter the diggers, who stop them for questioning. Upon arriving home, the family reads a newspaper story about chupacabra sightings, but Chava turns off the TV and denies that these animals ever exist. Alex tells Luna what happened the night before as soon as his grandfather leaves, saying he thinks Chava is concealing the chupacabras in the barn. Alex chooses to investigate after learning that the girl says the monster is just a myth. But at the barn, a little cub is there and gently approaching him. Alex walks to the kitchen and takes a dish of chorizo from the refrigerator in an attempt to make friends with it. But when he gives it food, the animal flees, and Alex chooses to pursue it to where it hides. When he gets there, the chupacabra gives him a little box, which he opens to find the carcass of a rat inside. Though the cub thinks Alex would enjoy the meal, the youngster politely declines the offering. At that moment, a powerful storm approaches, frightening the cub with its loud thunder. Alex comforts him, promising to look after the small one. Memo discovers his cousin sleeping in the barn when he visits it the following morning. At that moment, the youngster notices a loud noise, and Alex tries to stop him from learning that the chupacabra exists. The cub tries to attack Memo, but Alex manages to calm it down. After a few minutes, Luna comes inside the barn and sees the small monster. This makes her angry. After the scare, the girl tries to persuade Alex to get rid of the animal, but her cousin informs her that he and his relatives will now look after the cub, whom he chooses to name Chupa. Upon his arrival, Chava confesses that he was the one who brought the young animal to their place. The man claims that while traveling along the road a few nights prior, he unintentionally ran over the creature. When he came the following morning to tow the car, he discovered Chupa cowering in a bush and made the decision to save him. His objective has been to reunite Chupa with its parents ever since, but he hasn't been able to locate any other members of his kind. After the group gets home, Chava sees an oncoming car and races over to speak with the intruders. Quinn reports to the farmer that he has located the license plate of his automobile by the side of the road and requests permission to search the area. Chava tells the kids that he would not permit anyone to harm Chupa, and he manages to make them leave. As soon as Quinn leaves, Alex tries to talk to Chupa, but the anxious creature snaps at him. With caution, the boy reassures him and draws the child's attention with a music box. Memo then shows up and promises to teach Chupa how to fly. After donning his cape, the youngster and his puppy scale the roof. Subsequently, he leaps onto a bale of hay and requests Chupa to follow suit. Chupa manages to fly, which is surprising, but it doesn't take long for him to lose his balance and collapse next to Memo. With only a few days remaining before leaving for the United States, Alex makes the decision to spend as much time as possible with his grandfather. Alex learns that his father was a fighter before he met his mother, but that he gave everything up to live a great love when watching one of Chava's old fights on TV. After telling his late son's amazing exploits, Chava notices that Alex is glancing at his video game once more and chooses to take the gadget out of the boy's grasp. He now has to challenge his grandfather to a duel, which Memo is hosting, in order to win back his video game. Chava easily knocks the boy down. As Alex prepares to escape, his grandfather gives him advice to let out all of his rage before Memo declares the elderly guy victorious. So, Alex lets out his anger and launches his attack, but this causes Chava to suffer injuries. When a doctor arrives to see him, Alex is devastated to see the fact that his grandfather is in bed as a result of him. Following the administration of medication to alleviate Chava's discomfort, the physician becomes inquisitive about the source of the loud noise. Nevertheless, the kids persuade him that everything is normal. When the kids go to see Chupa, they see Quinn aiming the gun at it. The farm has been invaded by the terrible man, who will stop at nothing to get hold of the monster. They then use a tranquilizer to Chupa and it passes out and becomes totally defenseless. Quinn then seizes the chance to apprehend it and confines the creature in the cargo area of his vehicle. Alex rushes to his grandfather's chamber in a desperate attempt to save his friend. Chava, on the other hand, is disoriented and hardly remembers Chupa at all. In order to encourage him to stand up, Alex chooses to employ a different tactic. El Chacal, Chava's biggest enemy, is there to invade their place. Dressed in his wrestling outfit, he knocks down Quinn by kicking his chest. The family eventually succeeds in getting away, despite Quinn's best efforts to stop them. They have to find Chupa's parents to get him to safety. Although Alex tries to convince his grandfather to recall the precise location of the vehicle accident, Chava is still mentally disoriented. Abruptly, the infant chupacabra bursts into a bizarre noise and takes off running. Quinn has by now made transportation arrangements with his co-workers and shows up at the abandoned car's location. The group disperses, not knowing where they have disappeared, in the hopes that they will still be able to catch the chupacabra. Alex's family follows him as he continues to chase Chupa into the desert. Chupa begins howling as he approaches the brink of a canyon, and Alex quickly knows that his family is not far away. Alex gives his pal a hug and expresses his deep sadness, knowing it's time to say goodbye. The kid cries as he realizes he won't be able to see the chupacabra again, even though he is delighted that he has found his family. The two closest friends split ways after saying their goodbyes, and Chupa crosses the bridge to continue following his mother's path. After separating, Alex encounters a lion. In an attempt to flee the lion, he climbs the bridge, but it pursues him and causes the ducts that link the two spans to collapse. He gets cornered but Chava arrives and defends him from the lion. Using his cape, the man tries to shoo it away and it eventually gives up on eating them and moves on. The boy hangs to the duck's side when all the pipes burst, and Chupa hears his frantic pleas for help. Chupa rushes to aid him right away and approaches Alex cautiously. At that moment, the remainder of the building crumbles, causing them to both go off over the edge. The youngster is about to hit the ground when Chupa uses his wings to break free and soars back up the canyon. Chava bursts with joy upon realizing his grandson is safe, and Alex expresses gratitude to the puppy for saving his life. Just then, Quinn makes a surprise attack on Chupa. Once the animal faints, the digger stops Alex and his family from approaching by stunning him. When Alex witnesses the bad man leaving while holding Chupa in his arms, he becomes furious. But in order to keep the young man safe, his grandfather intervenes and stops him from acting. When the family sees Quinn loading the animal into his car and driving off, they are helpless. Nobody could have predicted, though, that Chupa's mother was seeing everything and attacked the criminal's car with ferocity. The beast roars horrifyingly at its foe, and soon after, other chupacabras emerge to wreck Quinn's vehicle. The desperate Quinn flees the car and makes an effort to ward off the predators. But his strategy backfires as Chava approaches from behind and disarms him with a single punch. After a few minutes, when everyone is safe, Alex bids Chupa farewell once more before the young child and his mother go off and disappear from view. After a few days, Alex is set to board a flight to return to the United States a day before his cousin leaves. As Luna says farewell, he offers the youngster a tape with recordings of many Mexican songs on it so he may work on his Spanish. After giving each other a hug, Alex and his grandfather head to the car. Memo has not been seen since, and Chava contacts the young man to bid his cousin farewell. The two decide to head to the airport because he doesn't return their call, but as soon as the car's trunk is opened, Memo suddenly comes out and attacks his cousin. Nevertheless, Alex manages to defend himself and win against Memo. Returning to the United States a much more self-assured youngster, the boy can't wait to tell about the adventures he has had. Chava on the other hand, will live with his daughter in Mexico City to treat his illness more effectively, which has been causing him to experience memory loss. The movie ends as Alex, a much more confident person, hands over his games saying that he no longer needs the distraction. He says he will miss everything during his stay, especially his grandfather. Just then, he looks outside and sees Chupa flying beside the plane. This is the last goodbye to the unlikely friendship he had in Mexico. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoy this movie. See you in our next video.